Over half of unexpected engine problems don't come from driving at all. They start in the driveway when someone tries to clean things up. It sounds harmless, right? You lift the hood, spray a little water, maybe wipe some grease off, and think you're helping your car. But the truth is, one careless step under there can cause hundreds, even thousands, in damage. I've seen alternators burn out the very next day, sensors corrode from a single rinse, plastic covers so warped they never fit right again. That's why in this video, we're breaking down the 17 biggest mistakes people make when cleaning their engine bay, and more importantly, what you should do instead. I'll share the worst habits I've seen, the hidden risks you probably never thought about, and the easy habits that keep your engine clean and safe. Stick around, because once you hear mistake number 1, you'll never look at engine bay cleaning the same way again. Mistake number 17, cleaning with the engine still hot. It might seem convenient. You get home, pop the hood, and grab your hose or cleaner while the engine is still warm. But this is one of the fastest ways to cause expensive damage. Engines don't like sudden temperature changes, especially when metal and plastic parts are involved. Aluminum, for example, it's used in cylinder heads, manifolds, and covers. When it's hot, it expands. Spray it with cold water, and it contracts instantly. That stress can create tiny cracks you'll never notice until they grow into warped surfaces or leaks. I've seen plastic engine covers soften and sag just from an impatient rinse. Electrical parts hate it too. A hot alternator or fuse box acts like a magnet for moisture. The heat actually draws water deeper inside, leading to shorts, blown fuses, or premature failure. Even cleaners don't behave properly on hot surfaces. Degreasers that should dissolve dirt will instead bake on, leaving behind stains or residue you can't scrub away. The fix is simple: patience. Give your engine at least an hour to cool before cleaning. For deeper work, overnight is even better. If you can't wait, use a dry microfiber towel to remove light dust until it's safe. That little delay could save you from repair bills worth thousands. Mistake number 16, spraying water directly on alternators and fuse boxes. Your alternator is one of the hardest working parts under the hood, constantly charging your battery and powering electronics while you drive. But here's the catch: it was never designed to be waterproof. The alternator relies on open vents for cooling, and those same vents act like funnels if you spray water directly at it. All that moisture seeps inside, rusts bearings, corrodes brushes, and eventually shorts out the windings. I've seen alternators fail within a day of someone hitting them with a pressure washer. The fuse box is just as sensitive. It houses dozens of tiny connections that control every system in the car. Force water in there, and you're basically asking for blown fuses, random warning lights, or worse, total electrical failure. Some people claim, "I've sprayed mine before, and it was fine." Maybe. But that's like playing roulette with your charging system. The damage doesn't always happen instantly. Moisture trapped inside slowly eats away at the metal until one morning your car won't start. So, what's the safer move? Cover sensitive electrical parts before cleaning. A plastic bag or some foil over the alternator, fuse box, and exposed relays will protect them while you work. Then, clean around those areas with a microfiber towel or a lightly damp brush. That way you remove the grime without forcing water where it doesn't belong. Keeping these components dry isn't just about avoiding a single breakdown. It's about protecting the electrical heart of your vehicle. And if you think an alternator is fragile, just wait until you see what happens when water finds its way into your ignition, coils, and spark plug tubes. Mistake number 15, soaking ignition coils and spark plug tubes. Ignition coils look tough from the outside. They're usually sealed in sturdy plastic and bolted right onto the top of the engine. But inside, they're surprisingly delicate. When water sneaks down into the spark plug tubes, it creates the perfect pathway for electricity to jump where it shouldn't. Instead of firing the spark plug, the coil arcs against the side of the tube. The result? Misfires, rough idle, loss of power, or even a complete no-start condition. I've pulled coils that looked perfectly fine until I slid them out and found the bottom soaked, corroded, and covered in green residue. Once that happens, the spark can't travel cleanly, and your engine struggles to run. On modern engines with coil-on-plug setups, the issue is even worse. There's no distributor to mask the problem. One wet coil, and it feels like your car has lost half its cylinders. Some DIY cleaners make it worse by pouring or blasting water straight into the tubes, thinking it'll flush dirt out. But trapped moisture doesn't just evaporate, it sits, it corrodes, and before long, you're paying for a whole new set of coils. The fix is simple. Never soak this area. If the tubes need cleaning, remove the coils carefully and wipe around the spark plug wells with a dry microfiber or a lightly dampened swab. And if water does get in, use compressed air or a vacuum extractor to remove every drop before reinstalling the coil. Protecting this small but critical part of your ignition system saves you from one of the most frustrating engine problems. And if you think coils are vulnerable, wait until you hear what happens when pressurized water blasts into your electrical connectors. Mistake number 14, using high-pressure washers on connectors. Electrical connectors might look sealed, but most of them aren't. Even the ones labeled weatherproof are only splash resistant, not designed to take the blast of a 1,500 psi pressure washer. When you aim high-pressure water at a connector, that force pushes moisture deep inside where it gets trapped. And once water is sealed in, it doesn't just dry up, it corrodes. I've seen cars come into the shop running rough, with check engine lights on, all because one connector was half full of green corrosion. That hidden damage caused voltage drops, dead sensors, and misfires that the owner couldn't trace. In some cases, the only fix was replacing the entire wiring harness. And trust me, that's a bill nobody wants. Think of connectors as your car's nervous system. They link the ECU to sensors, injectors, ignition coils, and dozens of other components. If even one starts failing, the whole system suffers. And unlike a visibly broken part, corroded pins don't always show until you're stranded or chasing mystery warning lights. The right approach? Skip the pressure washer. If a connector looks dirty, use a soft brush with a little safe cleaner, then gently wipe it. For stubborn grime, a light mist from a spray bottle at a distance is enough. Never a direct blast. A few extra minutes of gentle cleaning keeps your wiring healthy for years. Your connectors may be small, but they control nearly everything your engine does. Protect them, and your car will thank you every time you turn the key. And if you think side connectors are risky, wait until you hear about the ones that face straight up like tiny buckets. Mistake number 13, spraying upward-facing connectors. Take a closer look under your hood, and you'll notice some connectors sit vertically with the opening facing straight up. At first glance, they don't look any different than the others, but treat them the same way and you're in for a surprise. These connectors act like little cups, waiting to catch every drop of water you spray. Once that pocket fills, it doesn't just stay on the surface. It seeps down into the pins and wiring. I've opened connectors that looked perfectly fine from the outside, only to find the inside rusted and green with corrosion. That hidden damage leads to poor electrical contact, random warning lights, and systems that suddenly stop working with no obvious cause. I've even seen entire vehicles plagued with electrical gremlins, traced back to a single waterlogged connector. The fix often isn't cheap. Sometimes the entire harness has to be replaced. The good news is, this mistake is easy to avoid. Before rinsing your engine bay, identify any connectors that point upward. Cover them with a small piece of plastic, a bit of tape, or even a microfiber towel. If they're already wet, carefully blow them out with compressed air to make sure no moisture lingers inside. It only takes a minute of prep to keep these vulnerable spots safe, but it can save you hours of diagnostics and hundreds in repair costs later. Protecting upward-facing connectors is one of those simple habits that separates a clean engine bay from a damaged one. And if you think covering connectors is optional, wait until you hear about the chaos that happens when people forget to disconnect the battery before they start cleaning. Mistake number 12, forgetting to disconnect the battery or reconnecting while wet. Your car's battery sits right in the middle of the cleaning zone, and it's more sensitive than most people think. When you spray cleaners and water around a live battery, you're adding risk. All it takes is a splash across the wrong terminal, or a tool slipping while you wipe things down, and suddenly you've got sparks flying. I've seen fuse boxes fried, terminals scorched, and even main fuses blown just because someone didn't take the extra minute to disconnect the battery before starting. Here's the thing, disconnecting is simple. Loosen the negative terminal with a wrench, slide the cable off, and tuck it safely aside so it can't spring back into place. That small step removes the chance of accidental shorts while you're cleaning. But the mistake doesn't stop there. Even if you do disconnect properly, reconnecting too soon can be just as dangerous. If there's still moisture lingering around the terminals or battery case, that water can cause arcing the moment you tighten the cable. I've seen instant corrosion, burned connections, and in some cases, an electrical system that shut down completely. The right move is patience. Make sure everything is bone dry before reconnecting. Wipe down the posts and surrounding area with a microfiber towel, and if needed, use compressed air to clear hidden water. Only then should you tighten the negative terminal back into place. It's a small habit, but it keeps your electrical system safe and saves you from expensive surprises. And if you think sparks at the battery are risky, just wait until you hear what the wrong chemicals can do to plastics and hoses under the hood. Mistake number 11. Using the wrong chemicals. Under the hood, not everything is made of metal. Modern engine bays are filled with plastics, rubber hoses, and painted covers. And while these materials look tough, they don't stand a chance against the wrong cleaners. One of the biggest offenders is brake cleaner. It's designed to strip grease and oil off rotors and calipers in seconds, but on plastic or rubber, it's destructive. Spray it where it doesn't belong, and you'll find covers turning brittle, hoses swelling, or insulation cracking apart weeks later. I've had customers wonder why their wire coatings were literally crumbling in their hands. The culprit? Using brake cleaner as a quick degreaser in the bay. Even general-purpose solvents can cause problems, fading color or leaving surfaces chalky and weak. What looks like a convenient shortcut often turns into premature failure of parts that should last years. The safer approach is simple. Always choose cleaners designed for engine detailing. There are plastic-safe degreasers and all-purpose cleaners that cut grime without eating away at the surface. Light products like Chemical Guys, All Clean, or Griot's Garage Engine Bay Cleaner are made for this exact job. They lift dirt, rinse away easily, and don't attack the materials around them. A good rule of thumb: if you wouldn't spray it on your car's paint, don't spray it under the hood. Stick to products labeled safe for plastics and rubber, and you'll avoid the slow, invisible damage that harsh solvents cause. And if you think chemicals can stain, wait until you see what happens when degreasers are left to bake on hot engine plastics. Mistake number 10. Letting degreasers sit and bake on surfaces. Degreasers are powerful tools. They're designed to break down oil, grease, and road grime so you can wipe or rinse them away. But they're not meant to be left on the surface, and that's a mistake many people make. Spray too much and walk away, or worse, spray onto a warm engine and you're asking for trouble. Instead of cleaning, the degreaser begins to attack the very material you're trying to protect. Plastics in particular suffer the most. I've seen intake covers turn chalky, insulation lose its flexibility, and even smooth finishes develop rough, etched textures. On painted surfaces, dried degreaser can leave permanent streaks or discoloration that no amount of polishing will remove. The heat of the engine bay only makes things worse, accelerating the chemical reaction. What should have been a clean shine becomes a dull, stained mess. The solution is timing. Apply your cleaner sparingly, work it in with a soft brush or microfiber, and rinse or wipe it away before it has a chance to dry. Always treat degreasers like a quick rinse aid, not a soak. If you're working in the sun or on a warm day, tackle small sections at a time so nothing sits long enough to bake in. Taking a few extra minutes to control your cleaner makes all the difference. Your plastics keep their deep color, your hoses stay flexible, and your engine bay looks like new. And if you think surface stains are frustrating, wait until you hear what happens when someone attacks stubborn dirt with the wrong kind of brush. Mistake number 9, using abrasive brushes or tools. When dirt and grease are stuck on tight, the temptation is to grab the toughest brush you can find and scrub until it shines. But under the hood, that approach usually causes more harm than good. Wire brushes, stiff bristles, or even scouring pads are far too aggressive for modern engine materials. Plastics, painted surfaces, and even aluminum are softer than you think. Once scratched, they hold onto dirt more easily and start to look worse over time. I once had a customer bring in a car convinced that their valve cover was stained. After a closer look, it turned out the cover wasn't dirty at all. It was covered in swirl marks from a stiff brush. Those scratches couldn't be buffed out, and the only way to fix it was a full replacement. On rubber hoses or wiring, harsh scrubbing can wear through the protective outer layers, opening the door for cracks, leaks, and electrical shorts later on. The safer option is to use soft detailing, brushes, foam swabs, or microfiber cloths. These lift dirt without chewing up the surface. For stubborn spots, a gentle plastic safe cleaner does the heavy lifting, not brute force. Think coax the grime off, not scrub it off. Your goal isn't to strip the bay like a barbecue grill. It's to clean while preserving. Choosing the right tools keeps your engine looking sharp and avoids hidden damage that shows up months later. And if scratches seem bad, just wait until you see what happens when people ignore the debris hiding in plain sight before they even start cleaning. Mistake number 8, neglecting debris removal before cleaning. Before you even think about spraying water or cleaner, the first step under the hood should always be clearing out debris. Leaves, twigs, dust, and even small trash tend to collect around the cowl, under hoses, and in the corners of the bay. Ignore them, and you're setting yourself up for bigger problems later. Those leaves don't just sit harmlessly. They trap moisture, creating perfect conditions for mold, rust, or corrosion. On hot days, oily debris stuck near the exhaust can even pose a fire risk. I've opened hoods where insulation pads were singed because dried leaves had dropped onto the manifold. And once debris gets washed deeper into the bay, it clogs drains and air passages, leaving standing water where it doesn't belong. The solution is simple, but too often skipped. Before applying any cleaner, grab a shop vacuum or even a handheld blower to clear loose debris. A soft detailing brush helps sweep dirt out of tight corners, and compressed air works wonders around wiring harnesses. This prep step doesn't just make cleaning safer, it makes it more effective. You won't smear mud and grime around. Instead, you'll be lifting away the actual grease and buildup. Think of it like sweeping a floor before you mop. Skipping it just spreads the mess around. Spending 5 minutes clearing debris prevents hidden damage and makes your engine bay easier to maintain long term. And if you think debris is often overlooked, wait until you see what happens when people forget about the entire underside of the hood. Mistake number 7, forgetting the underside of the hood and hood insulation. Most people focus only on what's directly in the engine bay, the covers, hoses, and shiny metal. They scrub everything in sight, then close the hood and think the job is done. But the underside of the hood tells its own story, and ignoring it is a mistake. Over time, dirt, oil vapors, and road grime build up there. Worse, many cars have an insulation pad on the underside, and that material can soak up contaminants like a sponge. I've opened hoods that looked spotless at first, only to find the insulation dripping with old oil or stained with coolant. Not only does that ruin the appearance, it can also create lingering odors, or, in extreme cases, become a fire hazard if it's saturated and close to a hot manifold. Another problem? A dirty hood underside rains grime back onto your freshly cleaned engine. You spend all that time detailing, only for the bay to look messy again within days. The good news is, cleaning this area doesn't require much. Use a light spray of a plastic safe cleaner, agitate gently with a microfiber or soft brush, and wipe it down. If there's insulation, treat it carefully. Don't soak it, just blot or mist lightly. For stubborn oil spots, a degreaser applied sparingly on a towel works better than spraying directly. Taking care of the underside completes the job and prevents contamination from falling back onto your work. It's a small step, but it makes a big difference in keeping the bay cleaner for longer. And if you think ignoring the hood is bad, wait until you see what happens when water hides in places you can't even see. Mistake number 6, ignoring trapped water pockets. Water doesn't always drain away the way you expect. When you rinse an engine bay, plenty of it runs off safely, but some of it hides. It settles in tight spots under wiring harnesses, inside intake cavities, along the firewall, and around coil packs. From the outside, the bay looks dry. But hours later, that hidden moisture starts creeping into connectors, rusting bolts, or soaking insulation. I've lifted covers days after a wash and found standing water pooled on top of spark plug wells. That water doesn't just sit harmlessly. It corrodes metal, encourages mold, and slowly weakens electrical connections. The frustrating part is that the problems often appear days or weeks later. Misfires, strange smells, or sudden electrical gremlins pop up seemingly out of nowhere, all because trapped water was left behind. The fix is simple, but often skipped. After cleaning, don't just close the hood and walk away. Take a few minutes to chase out lingering moisture. A leaf blower, compressed air, or even a can of electronics duster can push water out of corners you can't reach by hand. Lift removable covers, check around coil packs, and dry any spots where water tends to collect. That extra 5 minutes of drying time prevents days of headaches later. By being thorough, you avoid rust, mold, and hard-to-diagnose electrical problems. Your engine bay won't just look clean, it will stay healthy. And if hidden water sounds sneaky, wait until you see what happens when people go too far with shiny dressings and turn their plastics into sticky dust magnets. Mistake number 5. Overdressing plastics and hoses. After cleaning an engine bay, many people want that glossy showroom look. They grab a can of dressing or protectant and spray it generously over every plastic and rubber surface. At first, it looks great. Deep black hoses, shiny covers, and a rich finish. But here's the problem. Too much dressing doesn't protect your engine bay, it harms it. Excess product leaves a sticky film that attracts dust and dirt like a magnet. Within days, the bay looks dirtier than it did before. Worse, some dressings are petroleum-based, and when applied heavily, they can actually weaken rubber over time. I've seen hoses become soft, swell, or crack prematurely because they were coated over and over with the wrong type of shine product. Even safe water-based dressings cause issues if applied too thick. They can drip onto hot components, leaving streaks or unpleasant smells once the engine warms up. The right way is moderation. Use a microfiber applicator to spread a light, even layer of a water-based dressing. This enhances the look and adds UV protection without leaving puddles or residue. Always buff away excess so the surface feels dry to the touch, not greasy. A subtle satin finish is actually better than a blinding shine. It looks clean and professional, and it doesn't turn into a dust trap. Protectants should extend the life of your plastics and hoses, not shorten it. And if overdressing seems wasteful, just wait until you hear what happens when people spray water anywhere near the high voltage components in a hybrid system. Mistake number 4, spraying near hybrid inverters or high voltage components. If you drive a hybrid or an electric vehicle, this mistake can be catastrophic. Unlike a traditional alternator or battery, the inverter is the heart of the system. It manages the flow of electricity between the high voltage battery and the electric motor. These components are sealed, cooled, and designed to handle thousands of volts. But they're not designed to handle you blasting them with water. I've seen hybrid owners clean their engine bays the same way they would a gas car, spraying freely without a second thought. At first, nothing seems wrong. But weeks later, the dashboard lights up like a Christmas tree. Warning messages, reduced power, sometimes even a complete shutdown. Diagnostics often reveal moisture intrusion into the inverter or its connectors. Repairs, they can easily run into the thousands, sometimes costing more than the car is worth. Manufacturers like Toyota and Honda explicitly warn against spraying water near these systems. The safe approach is careful and manual. Cover the inverter with plastic if you must rinse nearby, or better yet, avoid spraying altogether. Use a lightly damp microfiber cloth to wipe its casing and surrounding areas. For connectors, stick to brushes or dry cloths only. High voltage systems are not forgiving. One careless spray can create electrical chaos that's nearly impossible to fix cheaply. When cleaning a hybrid or EV, treat every orange cable and every inverter housing as strictly off-limits for water. And if you think hybrid components are fragile, wait until you see the mess that happens when oil leaks are attacked with the wrong type of cleaner. Mistake number 3, using generic cleaners on oil-soaked leaks. Oil contamination is one of the trickiest problems in an engine bay. A leaking valve cover, seeping oil pan, or even a small power steering leak leaves behind sticky residue that ordinary cleaners just can't handle. Many people make the mistake of grabbing an all-purpose degreaser or simply blasting the area with water. But oil doesn't dissolve in water. Instead of cleaning it, you just smear the mess deeper into corners and onto other components. Over time, that oily buildup attracts dust and grit, forming a sludge that traps heat and slowly eats away at rubber hoses and wiring insulation. I've even seen cases where ignored oil residue became a fire hazard once it collected near exhaust components. And using the wrong cleaner doesn't just fail. Some harsh products leave behind residues that further weaken plastics and seals. The proper solution is using petroleum-specific cleaners, Products like gel-based engine degreasers or non-chlorinated brake cleaner, plastic safe, are formulated to break down oil without leaving a film behind. Spray them directly on the affected area, let them work for a minute, and wipe the residue away with a rag instead of drowning the bay in liquid. Another key step is inspecting after cleaning. If oil keeps reappearing, it's not just dirt, it's an active leak. No cleaner will fix that. Addressing the source early prevents much bigger repairs down the road. By choosing the right cleaner and technique, you not only make your engine bay look fresh, you also protect it from long-term damage. And if you think oil residue is messy, wait until you hear what happens when people forget to cover critical components before rinsing. Mistake number 2, forgetting to cover sensitive components before rinsing. One of the simplest safety steps when cleaning an engine bay is also one of the most often skipped, covering delicate parts. Alternators, fuse boxes, batteries, air intakes, and exposed relays do not mix well with water. Leave them uncovered, and a quick rinse can turn into electrical chaos. I've seen fuse boxes short out after a single careless spray, and alternators fail days later because water snuck in through their vents. Even air intakes are vulnerable. If water enters the filter housing, it doesn't just dampen performance, it risks being sucked into the engine itself. Water in the combustion chamber is no joke. At best, the car runs rough. At worst, you're looking at bent rods from hydrolock. All of this happens simply because someone thought they could be careful with the hose and skipped covering things first. The fix takes less than 5 minutes. Grab a few plastic bags or some aluminum foil and wrap the sensitive components before you start rinsing. Professional detailers do this every time because they know once water gets inside, it's almost impossible to remove completely. After rinsing, remove the covers, check for stray droplets, and then finish drying. This small precaution pays off in peace of mind. You can rinse more confidently, knowing you're not flooding your electrical system or risking a major breakdown. It's a step that turns engine bay cleaning from risky to safe. And now, we've reached the #1 mistake people make, the one that causes more damage than all the others combined. Mistake number 1, spraying too much water overall. When it comes to cleaning an engine bay, more water doesn't mean cleaner. In fact, drowning the bay is the fastest way to ruin it. People grab a garden hose or even a pressure washer and think the extra force will blast dirt away. What actually happens is far worse. Excess water seeps into spark plug wells, fills electrical connectors, and sneaks past gaskets that were never designed to withstand flooding. The result? Misfires, no start conditions, or even long-term corrosion that shows up weeks later. I've seen engines run perfectly fine right after a heavy rinse, only to return days later with a check engine light and rough idle. That hidden water found its way into places it shouldn't have, and the damage was already done. Even if the car starts, trapped moisture slowly corrodes sensitive components until one morning it simply refuses to fire. The right approach is moderation. Let your cleaner do the work, not the hose. Use a light mist or controlled spray, guiding dirt off surfaces instead of blasting it into every crevice. For tight areas, rely on brushes, microfiber towels, or compressed air instead of water. Think of it less as washing and more as rinsing away loosened grime. By keeping your water use under control, you avoid nearly every risk we've covered, from soaked coils to corroded connectors. A careful rinse paired with regular light cleaning keeps your bay looking sharp without drowning it. Engine bay cleaning should preserve your car, not destroy it. With the right habits, you'll protect both performance and reliability for years to come. And that's our full list of the most common mistakes people make when cleaning their engine bay and what you should do instead. The key takeaway is simple. Cleaning under the hood is smart, but only if you do it with care. A few extra minutes of patience, protection, and the right products can save you from thousands in unnecessary repairs. Remember, it's not about flooding the bay until it shines. It's about keeping everything healthy, safe, and reliable. A clean engine bay should give you peace of mind, not headaches. Thanks for sticking with me through the countdown. If you learned something new today, consider giving this video a like. It really helps out. And if you want more car care tips that save your wallet and your sanity, don't forget to subscribe. Take care of your car, and it'll take care of you.